My name is Jake Morrison, and I've been working this land for 37 years. Started when I was 18, fresh out of high school, with nothing but strong hands and a willingness to learn. Old Man Henderson took me under his wing, taught me everything about cattle, crops, and the rhythm of farm life. I thought I'd die on this land, just like he did. But here's the thing nobody tells you about loyalty in farming. It doesn't pay the bills when corporate efficiency comes knocking. Jake, we need to talk. Those 5 words from Henderson's son, Michael, hit me like a sledgehammer on that crisp October morning. I was fixing the irrigation system in the south pasture, my hands already black with grease, when he approached with that look. You know the one, the same expression people wear when they're about to put down a sick horse. The conversation lasted exactly 4 minutes. Budget cuts, modernization. A recent agricultural business graduate from State University who could optimize operations for half my salary. They called it progress. I called it betrayal. You've got 2 weeks to train him, Michael said, avoiding my eyes. His name is Tyler. He starts Monday. As I watched Michael's truck disappear down the dirt road, kicking up dust that settled on everything I'd built here, I felt something crack inside my chest. Not my heart. That was still beating strong. It was my faith in the idea that hard work and dedication meant something. The rooster crowed in the distance, like it had every morning for decades. But this time it sounded different, like a warning. Tyler Brennan arrived Monday morning in a spotless Honda Civic, wearing khakis so crisp they could cut glass and carrying a leather portfolio that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. 24 years old, MBA in agricultural business, and a handshake that felt like holding a dead fish. Mr. Morrison, I'm really excited to learn from your experience, he said, his voice carrying that particular brand of confidence that comes from never having failed at anything important. I studied his soft hands, his clean fingernails, his shoes that had never seen real mud. Call me Jake. And we start at 5 a.m. 5? The schedule I received said 7:30. Son, cattle don't read schedules. For the next hour, I watched him take notes on everything. The way I checked the feed bins, how I examined the fence lines, the method I used to assess each animal's health. He scribbled frantically like he was trying to capture 37 years of knowledge in bullet points. This is fascinating, he said as we approached the main herd. I studied bovine management theory extensively. The optimal feeding ratios, growth projections, profit maximization strategies. I stopped walking. Theory? Well, yes. The university has an excellent simulation program, very advanced. I pointed to Bessie, our oldest Holstein. What do you see? Tyler consulted his notes. A dairy cow, approximately 7 years old based on standard aging markers. Wrong. She's favoring her left rear leg. Probably stepped wrong yesterday. Needs checking, maybe some anti-inflammatory. Theory doesn't teach you to see pain, son. His confident smile flickered for the first time. By Wednesday, Tyler's pristine appearance was showing wear. His khakis bore mud stains that wouldn't wash out, and his leather portfolio had taken on the permanent aroma of the barn. But it wasn't the physical challenges that were breaking him down. It was the relentless reality of farm life. The cows don't follow the feeding schedule, he complained, wiping sweat from his forehead as we finished the morning routine an hour behind his projected timeline. Animals aren't machines, I replied, watching him struggle with the gate latch he'd been shown a dozen times. They have good days and bad days, just like people. That afternoon, we lost a calf. It happens sometimes, nature isn't kind, and farming isn't a business for the squeamish. I found Tyler 20 minutes later, sitting on a hay bale, staring at his phone. First time? I asked. He nodded, not trusting his voice. It never gets easier, I said, settling beside him. But you learn to carry it. That's the difference between managing livestock and caring for them. Tyler looked up at me with something new in his eyes, not the confident enthusiasm of Monday morning, but something more honest, more human. How do you do it? Day after day, year after year. I thought about Old Man Henderson, about the lessons learned in silence, about the satisfaction of work that mattered. Because someone has to. Because these animals depend on us. Because the land remembers everyone who's ever cared for it. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. They didn't teach us about the emotional part in school. No, I said. I don't suppose they did. Thursday brought the kind of storm that separates real farmers from weekend hobbyists. The Weather Service had predicted light rain, but Mother Nature had other plans. By noon, we were dealing with driving rain, 40-mile-per-hour winds, and the very real possibility of losing livestock if we didn't act fast. "We need to get the cattle to the north shelter," I shouted over the howling wind, rain stinging my face like needles. Tyler stood frozen in the doorway of the barn, watching the chaos outside. His carefully planned schedule lay forgotten, soaked and illegible in the mud. "I don't know how," he admitted, his voice barely audible above the storm. "Then watch and learn." For the next 3 hours, we battled the elements. I moved through the herd with practiced efficiency, using voice commands and body language learned over decades to guide panicked animals to safety. Tyler followed, stumbling through mud that sucked at his ruined shoes, trying to help, but mostly just trying not to get trampled. When we finally got the last steer into shelter, we were both exhausted, soaked to the bone, and covered in mud from head to toe. Tyler collapsed against the barn wall, breathing hard. "How did you know?" he gasped. "How did you know they'd follow you?" "Trust," I said simply. "They know I won't lead them wrong." Tyler looked out at the storm, then back at me. "I've been here 4 days and I don't know anything. Not really. Knowledge isn't the same as wisdom, son. Knowledge is what you learn in books. Wisdom is what you earn with your hands." That night, Tyler called in sick for the first time. Friday morning, Tyler didn't show up at 5 a.m., or 6, or 7. I found him at 8:30, sitting in his car in the parking area, engine running, staring at the dashboard. I tapped on his window. He rolled it down slowly, and I could see he'd been crying. "I can't do this," he said without looking at me. "I thought I could. I thought education and planning and modern methods would be enough. But I'm drowning, Jake. I'm completely out of my depth." I leaned against his car, choosing my words carefully. "You know what Old Man Henderson told me on my first week?" Tyler shook his head. He said, "Jake, farming isn't about being smart. It's about being stubborn. Stubborn enough to get up every morning when everything hurts. Stubborn enough to care for animals that can't thank you. Stubborn enough to plant crops that might fail and love land that might break your heart." Tyler was quiet for a long moment. "I'm not stubborn enough." "Maybe not yet," I said. "But that doesn't make you a failure. It makes you honest." "Michael's going to fire me." "Probably." "And then what? I've got student loans, a lease on an apartment, parents who think I'm going to revolutionize agriculture." I straightened up, making a decision that surprised even me. "Then you learn. You take what this week taught you, and you figure out what you really want to do with your life. But you don't run away from hard truths." Tyler finally looked at me. "Will you help me tell Michael?" "Son, that's something you need to do yourself. But I'll be there if you need me." Michael arrived at 10 a.m., expecting to find Tyler fully integrated into the farm routine. Instead, he found us sitting on the porch of the old farmhouse. Tyler still in his muddy clothes from the day before, looking like he'd been through a war. "Tyler? Jake? What's going on here?" Tyler stood up, and I was surprised to see his shoulders were straight, his voice steady. "Mr. Henderson, I need to talk to you about my position here. If this is about the schedule adjustments, no, sir. It's about honesty. For the next 20 minutes, Tyler laid out everything: his struggles with the physical demands, his complete lack of practical experience, his realization that managing a farm required skills that couldn't be learned in a classroom or simulated on a computer. "I came here thinking I could optimize your operation," Tyler said. "But I don't understand your operation. I don't understand the animals, the land, or the rhythm of this place. And most importantly, I don't understand the responsibility." Michael listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. When Tyler finished, there was a long silence broken only by the distant lowing of cattle. "So you're quitting?" "I'm admitting I'm not qualified for this job. Jake is. He knows every animal by name, every inch of this land, every sound that means trouble. You're not just losing an employee when he leaves, you're losing institutional knowledge that can't be replaced." Michael looked between us, processing this unexpected turn of events. "And what do you suggest I do about the budget concerns?" Tyler took a deep breath. "That's above my pay grade, sir. But I know firing Jake is a mistake." What happened next caught all of us off guard. Michael sat down heavily on the porch steps, suddenly looking older than his 45 years. "You think I wanted to let Jake go?" he said quietly. "You think this was easy for me?" Tyler and I exchanged glances. This wasn't the conversation either of us had expected. "My father built this farm with his bare hands," Michael continued. "Jake was like a son to him. Hell, Jake knew Dad better than I did in those last years. But the numbers don't lie. We're hemorrhaging money. Insurance costs, equipment maintenance, feed prices, labor costs. Everything's going up except what we get paid for our cattle." He looked directly at me. "I've been trying to save this place, Jake, not destroy it. I thought if I could cut labor costs, modernize operations, maybe we could survive another generation." "And now?" I asked. "Now I'm wondering if I'm trying to save something that's already dead." Tyler cleared his throat. "Mr. Henderson, can I ask you something?" Michael nodded. "What if the problem isn't the farm? What if it's the approach?" "What do you mean?" Tyler pulled out his phone, scrolling through notes. "I've been researching sustainable farming models, direct-to-consumer sales, agritourism opportunities. There are farms making it work, but they're not trying to compete with industrial agriculture. They're offering something different." I found myself leaning forward, interested despite myself. "People want to know where their food comes from," Tyler continued. "They want to support local farmers, experience authentic farm life. What if instead of cutting costs, we added value?" For the first time in weeks, I saw something like hope in Michael's eyes. Over the next hour, something remarkable happened. Tyler's business education, my practical knowledge, and Michael's desperate need for solutions combined into something none of us had expected: a real conversation about the future. "Farm tours," Tyler suggested, "educational programs for schools, maybe a small farm store selling direct to consumers." "The old Henderson place has good bones," I added. "Could be converted into event space, weddings, corporate retreats. City folks love the idea of authentic farm experiences." Michael was taking notes now, his earlier resignation replaced by cautious optimism. "What about the day-to-day operations?" "That's where Jake comes in," Tyler said. "I can handle the business side, marketing, customer relations. But the farm itself needs someone who understands it, someone the animals trust." I looked at this young man who'd arrived Monday morning thinking he could replace me and saw something I hadn't expected: respect. Not just for me, but for the work itself. "You'd stay?" Michael asked Tyler. "Even knowing how hard this is?" "I'd like to try," Tyler replied. "But not as Jake's replacement, as his partner. I bring the business knowledge, he brings the farming wisdom. Together maybe we can build something sustainable." Michael turned to me. "Jake, what do you think?" I thought about old man Henderson, about the lessons he'd taught me about adapting to survive, about the difference between preserving tradition and being trapped by it. "I think," I said slowly, "that maybe it's time to try something new." The next 2 weeks were unlike anything I'd experienced in 37 years of farming. Tyler threw himself into learning with the same intensity he'd once applied to his business theories, but now with humility replacing arrogance. He arrived each morning at 4:30, 30 minutes before our usual start, spending the extra time observing the animals, learning their individual personalities and needs. His soft hands developed calluses. His clean fingernails stayed permanently dirty. His expensive portfolio was replaced by a weathered notebook that he kept in his back pocket. "Bessie's limping again," he reported on a Tuesday morning, pride evident in his voice at having spotted what I'd taught him to look for. "Good eye," I said, and meant it. We started small with the business changes. Tyler created a simple website showcasing our farm's history and values. He reached out to local restaurants about supplying grass-fed beef. He organized our first farm tour for a group of homeschooling families. Watching him explain our operation to visitors, I was struck by how much he'd absorbed in just 3 weeks. He spoke about sustainable practices, animal welfare, and land stewardship with genuine passion. But more importantly, he deferred to me for the technical details, introducing me as our farm manager and the real expert here. The visitors loved it. They asked questions about everything from cattle breeds to soil management, and Tyler was smart enough to let me answer while he took notes for future reference. "You're a natural teacher," one mother told me as her children petted our gentlest heifer. That evening, Tyler and I sat on the porch, exhausted but satisfied. "I owe you an apology," he said. "For what?" "For thinking I could replace you. For not understanding what you really do here." I nodded, accepting the apology I'd never expected to receive. 6 months later, Henderson Farm looked the same but felt completely different. The cattle still grazed in the same pastures, the rooster still crowed at dawn, and I still started each day at 5 a.m. But now Tyler was beside me, no longer the overconfident college graduate, but a genuine partner in the work. Our direct sales program was exceeding expectations. Local restaurants were paying premium prices for our grass-fed beef, and our weekend farm tours were booked solid through the summer. Tyler had even convinced a local brewery to partner with us for farm-to-table events that showcased both our beef and their craft beer. The financial pressure on the farm had eased considerably. Michael was sleeping better, and for the first time in years, he was talking about expansion rather than survival. But the real success wasn't measured in dollars. It was in the way Tyler now moved through the herd with confidence, reading the animals' moods and needs. It was in the respect he'd earned from the cattle, who no longer shied away from his approach. It was in the questions he asked, not about theory, but about practice. "Jake," he said one evening as we finished the daily routine, "I've been thinking about winter feeding schedules." "Oh?" "I know the textbook recommendations, but I want to know what actually works here. With our specific herd, our particular climate, our individual animals." I smiled, recognizing the wisdom in the question. "Well, let me tell you about the winter of '98. As I shared another story from decades of experience, I realized something profound had happened. Tyler hadn't replaced me, he'd joined me. And in doing so, he'd helped save not just the farm, but the knowledge I'd spent a lifetime accumulating. A year later, I stood in the same spot where Michael had delivered the news that changed everything. But this time, I wasn't alone. Tyler was beside me, and we were watching a group of agricultural students from the state university tour our operation. The key to sustainable farming, Tyler was explaining to the group, isn't just about modern business practices or traditional methods. It's about combining both. Respecting the wisdom of experience while embracing innovation that serves the land and the animals. One student raised her hand. "How do you balance efficiency with animal welfare?" Tyler looked at me and I stepped forward. "You start by understanding that they're not in conflict," I said. Happy, healthy animals are productive animals. Sustainable practices are profitable practices. But you can't learn that from a book. You have to live it. After the students left, Tyler and I sat on the porch as we'd done countless times over the past year. "I never thanked you properly," he said. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For teaching me that being wrong isn't the same as being worthless." I thought about Old Man Henderson, about the lessons that get passed down through generations of farmers, about the responsibility of preserving knowledge while adapting to change. "Son," I said, "the day you stop learning is the day you stop being useful. You came here thinking you knew everything. You stayed because you were willing to learn. That's the difference between education and wisdom." The rooster crowed in the distance, the same sound that had marked my days for nearly 4 decades. But now it sounded like a promise rather than a warning. Henderson Farm was going to survive. And more importantly, the knowledge that made it work was going to survive too, passed from one generation to the next, just as it should be.